Welcome to another episode of Raising the Bar, TKJE podcast. In this episode, we hear from Frank Willis, owner of Frank's Chicken and Waffles. Frank Willis Jr. was born in Inglewood, California. After receiving a basketball scholarship to the University of New Mexico, he moved to Albuquerque in 1991. After he got out of school, he had a few jobs and businesses, but nothing that was worth his time. That's when he began hustling in the streets, and after 10 years of doing that, he was busted and sent to prison for 3 years. When he returned home, he was reformed, but finding a job was now harder to do than before. He lost his job and took his last $150 and started a chicken and waffle business out of his sister's apartment. He did that for almost a year until the news found out what he was doing and put him on TV. In 2013, he opened Frank's Famous Chicken and Waffles. And since then, he's been featured in multiple magazines and on television shows, including diners, drive-ins, and dives on the Food Network. Plan your steps and take flight. TKJE, Raising the Bar. All right, welcome back to another episode of Raising the Bar, TKJE podcast. Got another good one for you guys today. I've known this young man for a long time, and we go back in business and personal, and I was just I felt really blessed to be able to meet him, work with him in different capacities. I've learned quite a bit from him when it comes to business, and it's just exciting that he was able to find the time to share a story with us and do this interview. Today we have Mr. Frank Willis, owner of Frank's Chicken and Waffles, entrepreneur. Frank, how are you today, sir?
How you doing, man? Blessed, man.
Doing all right?
Glad to be on the show, man.
Okay, yeah. I can dig
I'm
it.
enjoying this, man.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I've been watching you do your thing, so I'm excited to get this going, man. Glad to be
man.
Here.
Hey, so I really appreciate it, and I know you've got quite a bit going on, and we're going to get into that, and so you can let us know who you are, what you're about, and how this started, man. As I mentioned, we go back a little bit, and I've been able to gather information and knowledge from you. So let's jump right into this. When it comes to your business, what inspired you to actually start your business in food and everything you got? What was that inspiration?
To be honest with you, just the necessity to jump into something different and stop working for other people and getting fired from jobs. I'm an ex-athlete. So after sports, basketball, per se, I was jumping around trying to find things to do. I love radio, so I tried to dabble in that. Started multiple small businesses that didn't work. Just did a bunch of different things and worked for a bunch of different people until it was just at a point where I was doing a job that I didn't like, wasn't getting paid well, and then eventually just got fired and, looking at the wall and saying, hey, what am I going to do? I just lost my job. I got $150 left in my name. That competitive spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit, I guess, kicked in. I went to took some buddies of mine and, just to give you a head start on the story, from Los Angeles. So I was a big fan of Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, and I can give them props. They're definitely an inspiration and some people that have been legacy in this restaurant game as far as what we've been doing. So I took a couple of guys from Albuquerque to Los Angeles, and we went to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles and ate in the restaurant, and I'm telling them about it, but they were apprehensive and skeptical, just like everybody else. Chicken and waffles, what is that? Okay, blah, blah, blah. Of course, we get in there, they order $75 worth of food, and they love it, right? Right. But I'm looking at everybody else in there, and it's looking like everybody got $75 worth of food in there, and so it's looking to me like $600 in the room. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that light bulb went off like, okay, we're coming back home on the road. I tell the guys, I said, man, when we get back to Albuquerque, I'm finna open a chicken and waffles restaurant or a business, and they was like, okay, they didn't understand it, but I was serious. In my family, my grandmother, my few uncles and coaches and a bunch of people have always been business-minded people. So I've always got that in my ear, growing up about how to be business-like and how to, go get it and go get your own. That just kicked in, man. And with $150 left to my name, I just went to the store and got all my, went and bought an old fryer, old waffle maker, and, whatever ingredients I thought I could do, made a little Facebook page and just started with that. and just got going out of the house, man. What's funny is that now that we're 11 years into this business, I told my sister we would be doing this 10 years later, looking back at this and talking about this, and we're here now. But people didn't understand. But there was a need for chicken and waffles out here because there was none. Another restaurant out here had some. And so I went there, but I just didn't think that's what it was or was supposed to be. So that's what made me kick in and do, what I did and start the restaurant in 2012, 13.
Okay, man, hell of a story. So a lot of people feel that they have to have a lot of money. They really can't believe that you can start some from ground up. They feel that you have to start at the top, but you're living proof that with that 150, as you said, and a little bit of effort, right, and some focus, it can happen, but most people just don't see that. So I'm glad you mentioned that, man, and it's really cool to see that.
And you need a little bit of help too, I was down and out at the time, I was living with my sister and had a girlfriend with me living with my sister and her kids and stuff. So, it was just that necessity how to, I'm not built like that. So I had to crawl my way out of that situation, and this was the best way to do it. And, luckily I did have the support of my sister and my family members to help me. And that was important too. So, that I just wanted to add that,
Absolutely.
It was important that I had help too, to support me while I was getting going. And then once we got some momentum, the family kicked in, and then another family member kicked in with some money, and then it started, you know what I mean? So
absolutely. Once people can see the vision and they start believing in you and backing you, then it becomes something bigger, man. And that's right. Inspiring all in itself. And as you said, you had it in your ear through the years. Us being able to put those kind of thoughts now into our young people and people around us, eventually it will kick in, which is really cool. Now, so through the years, you mentioned 2012 up until now, I know challenges happen because they always happen, setbacks and everything else. So how did you overcome your initial challenges, setbacks as a startup?
Again, family. That's really all I can really say about that as an answer for you, because when everything was going down, people were willing to sacrifice their time and their money, while we're struggling to get going. There was a bunch of adversities and stuff like that. But again, my mother and my sister, more so my mother, when it comes to the business end, she was really instrumental and still is instrumental in our business and where we're at now. I thank God for her that she was able to, she has a good background in business and in law and a bunch of different things. So she's another one that I learned from. She's a jack of all trades. She's, learned different facets of businesses that has helped us pivot, throughout the years also.
Okay, you mentioned the word pivot. When it comes to that word pivot and being everything that the world has been going through right now, so can you highlight a time when you had to pivot your business model and how you executed that transition successfully?
Definitely. The first one that comes to mind is COVID. And along with COVID, we had a fire the same year. We had to think about, what we were going to do because it was the unknown. Nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew what was going to happen the next day. I just kept looking at the trends of what people were doing, and we had to cut back. We had to cut back on servers and people being in the front and people being in the kitchen. And we just went to a to-go model, and then we sticked with just to-goes. And, when they were going back and forth, up and down with you can open, okay, you can't open, or you can open and you got to have 2 people here and 2 people there and all that. I didn't do any of that because it just kept going back and forth, that once I got people used to it, they were okay with it. And until we got through this whole COVID thing, I was like, we're not going to change until they say we can open up all the way and we can just do that. We had a fire. We had to close down for 4 months. And so that was tough. Thank God for insurance. It took care of a lot of stuff. But, a lot of people in restaurants, if you don't have insurance, and it's expensive. And, it's a lot of things that in the restaurant business that cost a lot. And, the restaurant business is one of the hardest industries out there to manage and to keep successful. Glad we've got this many years behind us, but some people don't make it past 2 years or 1 year. And especially we lost a lot of restaurants to COVID. We were just blessed to, have a good support system and a good customer base that was able to keep us going throughout that whole
Wow.
really year and a half that we did that.
Okay. I mean, and really, to me, it shows a good product, right? It shows a quality product, right. A quality service is really what that says to me, is what you actually produce. So along those lines and through those times and through the years, right, we make mistakes, or, we stumble, we fall, we got to get back up. Man, can you share with us some of the most important lessons that you've learned from failures or mistakes through the years?
It's just really knowing your business. To be honest with you, it's something. I remember when we were talking about this business in the beginning, maybe a year before that, and everybody sitting around the table, and my girlfriend at the time said, well, I'm going to go to school to go learn how to be a chef and have run a restaurant. Well, I told her, I said, well, I've never seen anybody that owns a restaurant that went to school first. I said, so while you go to school, I'm going to go start a restaurant and we'll see how it happens, because I think the only teacher in business is to really get in and do it hands-on and just go through the trenches. Some of the pitfalls and some of the things we did, knowing your food costs, knowing the industry, knowing your competition, over anticipating, what you think, or making your business personal instead of looking at what the consumer and the customers really want. There's plenty of things that I did wrong, mismanaging money, not knowing what things cost. And really, like I said, to go back in the restaurant industry, there's a lot of things you got to pay for. People don't pay their taxes. People don't take care of vendors and people, distributors that come bring you money. All that stuff goes into it. It's really just knowing how to balance the budget and really keeping a good product. And the repetition of having a great product is also something we really work on, because people say, oh, it tastes like when I first came to the old restaurant. Oh, it tastes like when you delivered. Cooking with love, or making our job something that we love, is something that's important too, because if you're treating it like a job, it's going to taste like a job. It's not going to taste like grandma's house. It's not going to taste like T's house, or, because they're cooking with love and cooking with passion. And if you don't have a passion for it, all these things go hand in hand. You have to have a little bit of everything, I should say. You can be a businessman and not know how to cook and want to start a restaurant. But you can learn all those things. But if you don't pivot and adjust and acquire all the knowledge and all the things that you need to do that, you're going to suffer. And not to say that, you're going to suffer just because of those things, because it's been a roller coaster with this business since we've been doing it. And it's still a roller coaster right now, because now I'm trying to add on more elements and add on more things to the business to bring in more money to the family and to the fold. But it's also a struggle trying to learn a new business now, because there's pitfalls and things we don't know. Like, we have a food truck, but it's broken down 3 times since we've had it in the last 3 months. We had to see that first, though, to figure out what's wrong with it. Now we know what's wrong with it. Okay, now we can move on. Now there's something this. Oh, okay, we didn't know that. So now we got to stop, but it's stopping our money. It's stopping us from getting out there and keeping people employed and all these things. But in the beginning, those are the things you have to go through, because if you don't know it, of course you have to learn it.
Yep.
It takes time.
Yep. And it's a process.
That's where I'm at with a young kid right now, teaching him the same things that I'm telling you, is that it's a process. Like you just said, he wants to move fast and use other people and use algorithms and all these other things that he thinks are part of the business mode. But I said, the only algorithm you need are your hands. You know what I mean? So
yep, I do. Yep.
You got to put your hands in it, man. The teacher is the truck out there, not the algorithm. Can't tell you how to run your business.
Yep.
So he's getting in and he's eager and he's learning, all these things. So that's cool. But like I said, it's a process.
Okay. So with everything that you've been able to achieve, and I know you've got kids, and we all want to leave something better through what you've been learning and what you've built. What legacy do you hope to leave behind through your business endeavors?
Just showing that we worked hard to get where we were at, and we've had some, minimal success at doing it. And that's exactly right. I'm trying to leave something for my family. I have 5 wonderful daughters, that all have kids. Well, most of them have kids. So, now my lineage is in grandparent stage. And, some of them, a lot of them still work with us. A lot of them don't. But some of them see the vision and see the long-term goals and see where it's going because they've been with us since this whole process started. It's definitely about leaving something. And, to be honest with you, some kids don't want it. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
that's great. But when it comes to leaving something behind, I want people to say, hey, he did all this and all this and all this, and it was successful. And it was something that gave back to the community. It's something that was a service to the community. They worked hard for it, and we were able to be rewarded for the fruits of our labor.
That's awesome. And I completely understand that's sometimes it's not the physical that you're going to leave behind, but it's what you were able to accomplish. And then what they were able to see you do through everything is part of that. So that's really cool. As far as our listeners being able to tap into what you know, can you give our listeners just one piece of business advice that has stuck with you on your journey?
I have to go with the one that I always say to everybody, man. Hard work pays off, basically. Persistence, knowing your product and knowing your competition. If you know what you're getting into and you feel like this is something you do and doing it with love. It's really just that simple. If you work hard at anything, it will produce. And it will take time, but it will produce. I always take that back from sports, that when we're out there in the trenches running and trying to get, in shape and work on being champions and all this other stuff, hard work pays off is always in my head, saying just keep pushing, and it will pay off. And being persistence and things will persevere.
Okay. Well, Frank, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you got stuff to do and I know you got to run. But before you go, can you just tell us how we can get a hold of you, where you located? Are there particular areas where your truck's going to be running? Where can we help out and show support for your restaurant and everything that you got going on?
Well, really, let me run down the list. We have Frank's Famous Chicken and Waffles. That's been open for 11 years now. That's at 400 Washington Street Southeast. Our website is franksfamouschickenandwaffles.com. We also have famoushiphop.radio.com. This internet radio that we've been running for 8 years. You can find us there. We have podcasts, different music, and different streaming music services, interviews, and all these things going on that have to do with music. We're also in the process of starting a cannabis business with Famous 66 dispensary out in Moriarty, coming 2024. And we're on Instagram, Facebook, Frank's Famous Chicken and Waffles.
Go get some. I was just there today, actually, and loved every bit of it. Frank, brother, thank you once again for taking the time. Much success to you, everything you currently got going on and to your future. We wish nothing but the best for you. And listeners, we got another one coming up. Stay tuned. And Frank, once again, appreciate you and have a blessed day.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man.
All right.
Much love.
TKJE